Number 10. Taylor Swift versus Kanye West. That's right, these two are in a feud, and apparently it's lasted for quite some time. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an accepted speech for Best Female Music Video. While there was no altercation that took place on camera, over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized, and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he said the line, where I'm paraphrasing of course, "I feel like me and Taylor may still make love. Why? I made that be famous." Swift was very vocal about her dislike for the song, and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. A few months later, Swift also put Kanye's wife, Kim Kardashian, on blast after the influencer had publicly approved of the song's lyrics. Joke's on them though, as they have just made enemies with a woman who fuels her soul with hatred. I wonder what she's gonna be cooking up for us right now. Number 9. Cardi B versus Aja Davies. In 2017, rapper Cardi B and model Aja Davies appeared on an episode of VH1's Love and Hip Hop talk show. Things became heated very quickly when the topic of Aja's ex-boyfriend Swift came up. According to Davies, she was convinced that Cardi B and Swift were intimate together while she was still dating Swift. Cardi responded to the accusation by throwing her stiletto at Aja's face. She then jumped up and began making her way towards the model, but was stopped by two large security guards. Good thing too, considering on the other side of the room, Aja had done the same thing and was also being held back. An all-out brawl almost took place, but the altercation resorted to the pair yelling at each other from across the room, with Cardi's main grievance being the judgment placed upon her by Davies for being an exotic dancer before her time as a music artist. While Davies claimed that wasn't the case, it was very clear from both their verbal and physical language that there was certainly some shade looming overhead. Number 8. Nicki Minaj versus Miley Cyrus. MTV. It's the channel that just continues to deliver us such juicy reality moments. MTV was, however, responsible for the inception of one of the greatest award shows of all time, the Video Music Awards. The ceremony celebrates the best and brightest of the music industry, but in 2015 things got a little extra juicy. Miley Cyrus, remembered fondly as Hannah Montana and remembered for riding a wrecking ball, was hosting the event that year. Rapper Nicki Minaj had just taken the stage after winning the Best Hip Hop Video Award, but quickly shifted the audience's attention from herself to the host, Miley. Minaj was calling Miley out for supposedly talking trash about her in a recent interview. She asked Miley what's good, and Miley responded. She kept her cool and explained that everyone in the industry knows that news outlets and interviewers can manipulate footage to make comments sound worse than they actually are. She then reminded the audience about her difficult to watch performance at the ceremony in 2008, and then threw an 80-foot picture up on the wall to emphasize her point. Minaj's mic was cut off, and Miley introduced the list of artists being nominated for Best Future Artist before leaving the stage. This wouldn't be the first time Nicki got into it with another celebrity though, and her feud with Miley has persisted ever since. Number 7. Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez. Selena and Hailey share a feud. Reminds us of two kids in high school that just can't get along, only this time it's not just over a boy. Selena Gomez dated Canadian pop star Justin Bieber for quite some time throughout the 2010s. The relationship was rocky, and they would often split and get back together over and over again. He had been friends with Hailey Baldwin for a few years, with the relationship apparently becoming romantic at one point. While initially this was the cause of the feud between these two, more recently there seems to be a more personal reason for their hatred. A TikTok user posted a side-by-side comparison video of Hailey and Selena to show just how much Hailey had been copying Miss Gomez. There were photos of them wearing similar outfits. They also compared the coincidence of Hailey starting a YouTube cooking series called What's in My Kitchen when Selena had just released an HBO Max cooking show called Selena Plus Chef. Gomez was quick to thank fans for acknowledging the strange copycat behavior and let the world know that she was well aware of the similarities that began to arise, and she was not having any of it. Number 6. Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter. Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett co-starred on the Disney Plus series High School Musical, the series. God, that's a terrible title. During their time on set, they developed a relationship that apparently did not end well, and it may have something to do with one Miss Sabrina Carpenter. The Bizarre Varks alum made headlines in January 2021 after releasing her debut single, Driver's License. The hit song resonated with Rodrigo's fans, including Taylor Swift, but it also caused some to think that it was about the rumored drama between her, Bassett, and Carpenter. Her lyrics were, "And you were probably with the blonde girl who always made me doubt. She's so much older than me, she's everything I'm insecure about. The main reason people think this is a dig at Carpenter is because initially the lyrics were the brunette girl, not blonde, apparently changing it following the news of Sabrina's relationship with Bassett. Sabrina and Olivia basically started a singing roast battle. Apparently they began releasing songs around the same time as each other, including topics of like liars, cheaters, jealousy, all that jazz. It looks like this feud will be fueling quite a few hit songs in the near future. Number 5, Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. This feud has just been full of juicy moments that we love to watch. A few years ago at a Fashion Week event in New York City, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj appeared at separate times being photographed in stunning gowns on the streets of NYC. However, when the two crossed paths inside the building, things escalated quickly. According to witnesses, Nicki purposely stepped on Cardi's dress before spouting some nasty words about Cardi's baby daughter. Hey, first rule of trashing someone who's a parent, leave the kids out of it. Cardi blew up naturally. She stumbled as she tried to run across the room, once again being held back by bodyguards. But this time, she got through. After a moment of calm, Cardi lunged at Nicki, but is quickly blocked by her own security team, who must have made contact with Cardi because photos taken of her leaving the event show a nasty bump forming on her forehead. That wasn't the end though, as Cardi then began to remove her shoes and fling it at Nicki from across the room. She's like Hawkeye with a shoe, I swear. Nicki and her team kept the shoe as Exhibit A should they ever need to open a lawsuit for the incident. No charges were ever brought to light, but these two have been in a public feud ever since. Number 4, Isaiah Washington versus the Grey's Anatomy cast. Grey's Anatomy is a TV drama centered on the personal and professional lives of 5 surgical interns and their supervisors. The show garnered a massive fan base and was on air for over 420 episodes. For 62 of those episodes, a man named Isaiah Washington portrayed the character of Dr. Preston Burke. Following his departure from the series, Isaiah took to social media to call out his cast and crew of Grey's Anatomy for creating a hostile work environment. It was revealed that apparently Isaiah himself was responsible for the so-called hostility. He had started multiple feuds with fellow cast members, including a physical altercation with Patrick Dempsey on set, using homophobic slurs against T.R. Knight, and throwing shade at Katherine Heigl for throwing shade at him for using the slur. Needless to say, this is a very one-sided feud, as the Grey's producers just simply shut the door in his face and told him to take a hike. Number 3, Kanye West and Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson was the youngest cast member on SNL when he was hired at the age of 20. In 2021, Kim Kardashian hosted an episode of the show and starred in a sketch with Pete, parodying A Whole New World from the Disney film Aladdin. The sketch was okay, but apparently sitting that close to each other all week really got them going. At the time, Kim was still involved with rapper Kanye West, who was actually attending the live show, but apparently stormed out of the room following her scene with Pete. Apparently, Kanye had been present at rehearsals all week, and he remembers regularly seeing Pete and Kim smiling and laughing together while he was being ignored entirely. Kim and Kanye began their divorce process not long after that, and simultaneously, Pete announced that him and Kim were official. Since then, Kanye has publicly bashed both his ex and Pete for their actions, and has been in a pretty big feud with him. Was little Kanye mad? Oh well, sucks to suck. Number 2, Jerry the King Lawler and Andy Kaufman. Jerry the King Lawler was a professional wrestler between the 1970s and late 80s. Andy Kaufman was a comedian and a regular star of the legendary sitcom Taxi, yet somehow their paths seemed destined to cross. On an episode of The Late Show with David Letterman in 1982, Jerry and Andy were brought on to share the stage after a feud between the two had become public. Kaufman wanted to make his name more popular and did so by attempting to join the World Wrestling the entertainment company. He eventually wiggled his way into the ring, and producers felt Lawler and Kaufman would make nice on-screen enemies. Lawler was old school and Kaufman was a wacky comedian who did not belong between the ropes. A few months before the interview took place, the two fought in a one-on-one match, and Lawler pile-drived Kaufman into a mat twice, the second of which left Kaufman limp and in need of hospital. On Letterman, Kaufman was sporting a neck brace and appeared to be in enormous amounts of pain. The interview was meant to act as a reconciler for the pair, but instead devolved into shouting, slapping, and the threatening of a lawsuit. Their feud lasted for several years until Kaufman passed away in 1984. Number 1, Will Smith versus Chris Rock. Alright, let's just get this one out of the way. In 2022, Chris Rock was hosting the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair. Rock expressed his excitement to see Jada in a fictional G.I. G.I. Jane movie. But immediately following the joke, which landed for everyone else in the audience, Rock stood in confusion as Will Smith made his way towards the stage. Will adjusted his jacket, he took a firm stance, and then he just clocked Chris right across the face. He winded up his hand first to conjure the ultimate force. Initially being seen as a planned joke between the two, Will then began shouting several times at Rock to keep his wife's name out of his flippin' mouth. Now Chris handled the situation very well. He kept his cool, he laughed it off, and brought out the next award presenters. He was professional and quick to get the night back on track, but unfortunately an hour later Will Smith won the Oscars for Best Actor in a Leading Role. He played Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, and during his speech he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, the slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars indefinitely. Chris later took to Twitter to share his thoughts on the event, calling Will's actions unnecessary and aggressive. It would appear that getting smacked on live TV isn't something Rock can just forgive. So yeah, this is like the least surprising feud on the list.
At number 10, The Weeknd and the Grammys. The Grammys are one of the most prestigious awards in the music industry. Pretty much every artist dreams of one day receiving one, and they probably don't want to put their chances of receiving one in jeopardy. One artist, however, isn't interested in being on the Grammys' good side and would rather fight them than be friends. Singer The Weeknd announced that he would be boycotting the Grammys for the foreseeable future due to the unfairness of the awards. It is alleged that there are secret committees within the Academy who decide who gets nominated and who wins awards, and this has been the subject of the feud between The Weeknd and the Grammys. These allegations stem from the revelations made by former chief executive Deborah Duggan, who filed a 44-page complaint about the Grammys where she cited, quote, "The Grammys voting process is ripe with corruption. Members of the board of trustees and the secret committees choose artists with whom they have personal or business relationships," end quote. After his 2020 song Blinding Lights was snubbed of any nominations, The Weeknd blamed the alleged corruption for his snub, and he and the Academy have been in a war of words, so to speak, ever since. Other than the allegations of corruption within the Academy, The Weeknd also alleges that he was locked out of Grammy nominations because he decided to perform at the Super Bowl. Because of this music conspiracy, the singer released a statement in March of this year that read, quote, "Because of the secret committees, I will no longer allow my label to submit my music to the Grammys," end quote. At number 9, James Charles and Asian Doll. It's a little embarrassing for celebrities to get dragged online for something as petty as a Twitter feud. Like, imagine trying to clap back at someone just for them to clap back even harder, leaving the internet laughing at you. This is pretty much what happened between James Charles and rapper Asian Doll. It all started when the rapper tweeted out about makeup artist prices, where she said, quote, "If you charge over $150 to do a face of makeup, then you can go to hell respectively." James saw this tweet and it frustrated him a bit, to the point where he felt the need to respond, saying, quote, "What a stupid tweet. One foundation can cost $50, artists have to buy every shade for their kit, and that's just the first step. It's expensive to work as a makeup artist. Either pay an artist rate for their time and skill, or do it yourself, or get it done at a counter and risk looking busted," end quote. Asian Doll saw his reply and basically clapped back with a "nobody asked you" sort of message, where she basically made a dig at his flashback Mary look. The rapper tweeted saying, quote, "What a dumbass to be in my business replying to something that has absolutely nothing to do with you. I'm having a debate about hood prices, baby. Stay over there in Hollywood where they have you looking like a ghost," end quote. This little Twitter feud had fans laughing and memeing the whole situation, and criticized James for even jumping into the conversation in the first place. Now, before carrying on with the list, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also check out my gaming channel, Viper Girl, and hit that subscribe button while you're there. At number 8, Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton. After their bombshell Oprah interview, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been scrutinized for a lot of what they spoke about. One of the biggest things people are talking about in regards to their interview is their relationship with the rest of their family. According to sources, the most strained relationships are those between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton, as well as Prince Harry and his brother William. Meghan and Kate have reportedly been on poor terms for a long time, with some sources saying that they haven't spoken to each other in over a year. During the interview, Meghan addressed the public's view on her feud with Kate over Princess Charlotte's dress at Meghan's wedding, saying that Kate made her cry over it. Though they eventually patched things up and Kate apologized, they haven't been on speaking terms, not because of anything personal, but because of the feud between their husbands. There doesn't seem to be a lot of hate between Meg and Kate, but there seems to be a lot of tension since their partners aren't on good terms with each other. A source explained Meghan and Kate's situation in a statement saying, quote, "There is real animosity that the brothers have towards one another, and that has spilled over to Meghan and Kate's relationship, making it very hard for them to be friends or even friendly," end quote. Hopefully they can one day patch things up for the sake of being rid of this negative energy. At number 7, Addison Rae and Bryce Hall. Two of TikTok's biggest stars and former power couple Addison Rae and Bryce Hall have been feuding with each other ever since their messy breakup just a few weeks ago. In March of this year, there were reports that the couple had split up for the second time after their relationship was bombarded with cheating rumors and scandals. These rumors first came about during a Zoom call with some of her fans where Addison revealed that she and Bryce had been fighting, and so these rumors got off the ground and started circulating. Shortly after that, Addison made a cryptic Instagram post about how she wanted to keep some of the things she's dealing with away from the public eye. There was some speculation that this had something to do with Bryce, and this theory was embraced by more followers as they started to notice that some of Bryce and Addison's couple pictures had been removed from social media. Later, their breakup was finally addressed with a simple confirmation of their split. We don't know why they broke up or if the cheating rumors are true, but they are on and off again, so their feuding and fighting may only last a short amount of time, but we shall see. At number 6, Tana Mongeau and Cole Carrigan. Influencers Tana Mongeau and Cole Carrigan have been caught in a feud after Cole alleged that Tana hacked his social media accounts and tried to sue him for $100,000. It all started when Cole put Tana on blast by sharing a screenshot of a cease and desist text allegedly sent by Tana's lawyer. The text essentially warned Cole that he was in violation of a contract he had signed with Tana and that a breach of contract would subject him to pay $100,000. The contract, it is alleged that Tana has her circle of friends sign a non-disclosure agreement each year, and so now Cole is in trouble after one of his social media posts violated the terms of said contract. Now on top of this lawsuit, Cole also claims that Tana hired someone to hack his social media accounts, where they were able to delete a number of accounts like his YouTube channel and Twitter account. Cole claims that all of this drama is because he is one of the only people that Tana knows who isn't afraid to speak out about her. Cole has also claimed that Tana has kicked him out of her house, used him for free makeup services, and would even go through his personal belongings when he wasn't home. There haven't been many updates on this feud, but I'm sure that this is far from over. At number 5, Bhad Bhabie and Dr. Phil. If you're a fan of the show Dr. Phil, then you may be familiar with Danielle Bregoli, aka the Cash Me Outside girl. Danielle, now known as rapper Bhad Bhabie, was on the show because her mother was struggling to help her with her behavioral issues. As a result of her time on the show, Dr. Phil referred Danielle to a reform camp of sorts called Turnabout Ranch. The ranch is supposed to be a teen residential facility where they rehabilitate troubled teens. Well, recently Danielle came out to talk about her experiences at the ranch, recounting the abuse that she endured there and calling Dr. Phil out on recommending such a horrific place. The rapper claimed that she was apprehended by workers in the middle of the night, taken from her home and transported to the ranch where she was forced to stay awake for 3 days. She also spoke out about the facility's use of restraints on teens in attendance and how many other attendees cited many instances of abuse while at the ranch. Danielle spoke out about her experiences in her YouTube video, and she spoke directly to Dr. Phil, condemning his support for such a place and warned him that if he doesn't take accountability, that she would, quote, handle things her way. As of right now, Dr. Phil has yet to comment on the situation, but I'm sure that Danielle is planning her fight for justice. At number 4, Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo. One of the hottest songs out there right now is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, and though it is seen as the breakup anthem of 2021, it's also got a huge backstory and a huge feud surrounding it. Essentially, Olivia wrote Driver's License after her breakup with her High School Musical, the series co-star Joshua Bassett. Apparently, this was a very messy breakup that turned into a very messy love triangle after actress Sabrina Carpenter was brought into the mix and started dating Joshua. Are you following? Okay, so Olivia releases the song with a few nods to Joshua's new relationship with Sabrina. Next, in response to Olivia's song, Joshua releases a few songs of his own, including one called Lie Lie Lie. And then, Sabrina released a song of her own that included references to Olivia, as the song was about getting into a new relationship while an ex watches on. Now, no one is saying anything directly, and it is a very read between the lines kind of situation, but it's still very messy and fans are obsessed. It could all be for PR or maybe not, but it is certainly a very juicy story. At number 3, Prince Harry and Prince William. One of the biggest feuds on this list is one that I briefly mentioned before. Prince Harry and Prince William have been feuding for years, but with his exit from the royal family as well as his bombshell interview with Oprah, things may have gotten even more tense. The brothers have always had a strained relationship even when growing up. It is said that William adopted a more serious attitude, being the one destined for the throne, and Harry was more laid back and carefree. These two personalities apparently clashed a lot growing up and remains difficult to this day. Now with the added strain on the family following Harry and Meghan's interview, William is reportedly furious with his brother. According to sources, William is struggling to hold back his side of the story, as the Queen has said that they would be handling the situation privately. Sources say that William is looking to defend his wife Kate as well as clear up any rumors surrounding racial allegations within the family. Harry and William haven't spoken in a long time according to sources, and I don't really think they will be anytime soon. At number 2, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood. After becoming friends on The View, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood are now feuding with each other after they got into a very heated argument surrounding Piers Morgan's remarks about Meghan Markle. Sharon backed up Piers' comments about Meghan Markle's mental health, and this frustrated Cheryl. The two got into a very heated debate that ended with Sharon in tears, but this also sparked a conversation about Sharon's ideals. She was called a racist, and a number of other accusations came out about how she has used various slurs in the past when talking about her other co-hosts. As a result of this, Sharon was fired from the show and an internal investigation was launched. Cheryl said that she and Sharon were good friends, but because of this feud, they haven't spoken to each other. Sharon said that she tried sending Cheryl an apology text, but it went unanswered. We don't know if they'll make up, but it might be too soon to tell. And finally, at number 1, Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. Now I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet because there is just so much pettiness and I can't handle it. Basically, there is a one-sided feud between Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. Jake wants to fight Conor, and Conor's like, meh. Jake has been seen all over social media antagonizing, posting videos, and calling him names, and even bribing the guy with a $50 million check. Really, it's very childish, playground-type drama that no one besides Jake really has the time for. After all his antagonizing, nothing really ever came of it. Conor hasn't fought Jake and probably never will because of how annoying he is. Sorry to all the Jake Paul fans, but you kinda have to admit he's gone a little too far with this one, right?
Number 10, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, a popular man thanks to National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne in the hit sitcom Community. I genuinely love this show. Chevy? Not so much. And it would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show's runtime, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Mr. Glover. It became apparent that he was more than just angry with Donald, and it was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes either aimed at him or as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale told People that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character on the show and how he was being portrayed. The entire cast reminded him that there was no contract keeping him there, which may have been part of what set him off on set. His character was written out in truly humiliating fashion, with his life ending after feeding his geese way too much, if you know what I mean. He was playing with them. Number 9, Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI despite having some awesome visuals, and it featured some pretty cool performances from its cast like Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, it was a very different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time, meanwhile Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every day while their kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Red, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set 8 a.m. ready to shoot except for Mr. Hardy, but at that point Charlize took her place and stayed there until Tom showed up 3 hours later. Now she didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine this See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held up the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday. I really wish I could say the word that did set him off. The word she did say set Tom off, and he rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you just say to me" type thing. Yeah, he didn't say it like that. He's a big tough guy. Oh, a big tough I can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt pretty threatened by Tom on set and had an assistant follower around as a buffer between them. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why Tom Hardy was never brought back for a Mad Max 2. Number 8. Jeremy Piven. Best known for his role as the timekeeper in Spy Kids 4D, All the Time in the World, and nothing else, unfortunately has an overall rough reputation in the world of Hollywood, mainly being pegged as a very difficult man to work with. Several of his co-stars over the years have called out his wild behavior. When Kim Kardashian made a cameo appearance on some indie show called Entourage, I don't know, I've never heard of it, he was very pushy towards her, trying to get her contact information. Several past girlfriends and co-stars like January Jones, Kelly Brook, and Rachel Hunter have all agreed that this guy plays the numbers game. He'll go out and get as many phone numbers as he can so that at the end of the night he can just text all of them at once and see who responds first. The most troubling incident came when he made a guest appearance on the sitcom Will and Grace, playing Grace's ex-boyfriend. Deborah Messing, who plays Grace, recalled to Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live, that her experience with Piven was just plain gross. She claims to have locked lips with a lot of boys in her time on stage and screen, and on the first day of rehearsals, Jeremy tried to get French with her, claiming that he tried to shove his tongue down to her heart. She told him to take it easy, but apparently he refused. Not a cool move at all, and very gross indeed. This man is so mean and self-centered that he once tipped a waiter with a DVD of The Entourage. Seriously, what? Is it like a late night cable television show or something? Ooh. I'm just kidding, I know what The Entourage is. Number 7. Mike Myers. Yeah baby, it's very shagadelic that Mike's on this list. Despite being a Canadian treasure and the man behind some comedy cult classics like Austin Powers and Wayne's World, this guy's actually apparently a menace on set. According to his Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill, Mike had handlers dress his entire trailer, and his work area was entirely covered with tenting. Apparently he just didn't want anybody to see him physically, which, hey man, that's fair. If I was in that cat suit with a bum crack in it, I'd probably want to hide too. His reputation as a difficult Donnie might have something to do with Hollywood blacklisting him entirely, except for his recent show The Pentaverate, which was a show where he basically played half the cast because, yeah, he couldn't get anybody else to get on the show, I guess. It might be that, or it might be the love guru, who knows? Number 6. Bill Murray. Now, Bill Murray has had many public feuds with many co-stars over the years that would qualify him as an entry on this list. One of his more famous feuds was with Charlie's Angel co-star Lucy Liu, but I already covered that in part 1 of this list, so today I'm going to talk about his long-standing feud with his late Ghostbusters co-star Harold Ramis. Harold and Bill famously starred opposite of each other in the classic Ghostbusters series, but they had been working together before and after the project, with Harold acting as the director on a lot of projects starring Bill Murray. The moment he was outed as one of the meanest men on set was while filming Groundhog Day. According to cast and crew, Harold and Bill would regularly get into screaming matches over the way that a scene should be filmed or how a line should be said. According to Harold, who passed away in 2014, Bill would show up late to set, well past his call time. Following the film, the two did not speak to each other for decades. It wasn't until Harold was heading out the door that Bill decided to reconcile the friendship, but by then it was a little bit too late. Of course, in the years since, several co-stars, especially female ones, have come forward to call out his extreme temper and snappiness on set, but we could do a whole top 10 about things that Bill Murray has done. Number 5. Bruce Willis. Now, Kevin Smith is a director, actor, and an absolute geek in the best of ways. In 2010, he collaborated with Bruce Willis on an action comedy called Cop Out, a story about two cops who get sucked into wild action-packed shenanigans. I don't know, I've never seen the movie. According to Kevin Smith, his time on set as a director of the project was not good, and it was mostly due to his childhood hero Bruce Willis telling him to snap out of it every time that he would mention his admiration. He went on to claim that Bruce was difficult to work with on set in general, and that a lot of the time it just felt like he was messing up scenes on purpose to throw him off. Apparently, every time Kevin would try to, do his job and direct Bruce Willis, he would just kind of tell him that he had been working in the industry for 25 years and that there was nothing that Kevin could tell him he didn't already know. He then revealed on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno back in 2012 that Bruce had actually confronted him after filming one day and asked him if he wanted to take a swing. The situation escalated to the point that Bruce didn't appear for promotional events or photo shoots, meaning that he was photoshopped into most of the pictures that you see him with co-star Tracy Morgan, who Kevin claims is actually the only reason he didn't back out of the project. Since Willis was diagnosed with aphasia, the two have been able to patch things up, with Kevin apologizing for his petty complaints. Number 4. Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the better romantic movies ever made in Hollywood. Oddly enough though, the on-screen couple didn't get along at all during their shoot. Turns out they would constantly fight on set, and they seemed to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. Ryan Gosling especially was a little bit of a problem. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved. All drama watchers were sipping their tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel was replaced by another actress to read her lines. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel just wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a relationship that lasted for like 2 years, but anyone who worked on the set blames them for the constant schedule setbacks and creating just a terrible work environment overall. So I don't know, he seems better now that he's been in Barbie. Number 3. William Shatner. This one is for all of you Trekkies out there. Live long and prosper. That's all I got. I'm not as geeky as one may think, but I'm well aware of this long-standing feud between William Shatner and his Star Trek co-star George Takei. This feud has lasted for over 50 years, and according to George, it boils down to William being a prima donna attention hog the entire time he was on set. Over the years, George has always been vocal about his opinion on his fellow Star Trek cast and crew. Most of the time he has nothing but nice things to say and claims to have made lifelong friends from the project, but there is, of course, one that he despises, and it's William Shatner, who was the bane of everyone's existence on set. He loved being the center of attention and was apparently very self-involved. He wanted everyone to know who he was. William actually responded to these claims, telling people that he believed that Star Trek co-stars were damaging his good name for publicity's sake. But why would people who've barely acted in 30 years suddenly want to bash you for fame and glory? I don't know if anyone has noticed or not, but William hasn't done much either in a while, other than, petition to go to space for real, so good for him. Number 2. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx has been a huge star in the world of Hollywood over the years, working with several acclaimed directors in basically every genre, but like most actors, Jamie had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was in the film Any Given Sunday from 1999, alongside Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, and Mr. LL Cool J. Cool J and Jamie played teammates in the football-centric flick, and not only do their characters constantly fight on screen, but behind the scenes, they had an actual brawl that ended in the Miami County Police being called in. During one scene, the two were scripted to fight and filmed the first 2 takes as planned, but just, faking it. However, some offset beef made its way in front of the camera when Jamie struck Cool J for real, splitting his lip open, and an all-out beatdown took place, leaving Jamie unconscious and in the hospital. They had to stop production because they just weren't sure when Jamie would actually, come back to be able to film his scenes. When Fox did return to set, it was with a small crew of friends and his manager. Waiting to greet them was LL Cool J and half of Brooklyn, according to the director, who stated that the tension was only settled after the real-life football players that the characters were based on came onto set and took care of business. And at number 1, Sarah Jessica Parker. For this entry, I'm not allowed to say the title of the show that Sarah and her co-star Kim Cattrall were on, so I'll be referring to it as Schmecks and the City, okay? Take the Schm and you know what, you'll figure it out. The Schmecks and the City series is remembered for its larger-than-life fashion and flings. But even better than the show itself was apparently the dramatic on-set feud between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. There was merely speculation for a long time, but their feud was confirmed when Kim was left out of the HBO Max revival, and just like that. The feud reportedly stems from Sarah receiving a massive bonus when she was given an executive producer title in season 2. When the other girls found out, Kim attempted to negotiate a new salary. Apparently, the other cast members found that out, and they thought it was petty and just basically shunned her on set, refusing to sit with her at lunch. According to Kim, she began to face hardships in her personal life and was having a difficult time coping. The feud was surface level, and as time went on, things got better from what we can tell. Number 10. Bill Murray. Sony's first venture into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the titular angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Seriously, that guy needs some help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic in charge of the Angels, Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out that a scene was rewritten without without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke up about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill Murray's outburst. Apparently, Bill was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the movie, but instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character even being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find that the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half of the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She's not the one who wrote the scene, she wasn't the director or anything, so she asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-on meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and Bill was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actor at the time, and has always been glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebrities to comment on his behavior, but we'll save that for another time. Number 9. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has just a very specific face. You know, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? That's an old one. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain in the world of Hollywood. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it'd be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma Mia, that's not okay. Get it? She was in Mamma Mia. I'm so good at this. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, and was literally taunting her about her recently deceased partner John Cazale and his illness. Yay! Number 8. James Franco. Tyrese Gibson and James Franco starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of the filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice their choreography for their final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-stars for real. Instead of the normal choreography allowing actors to like fake strike each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to just box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defends himself by saying that he was aware that he made the set difficult all the time, and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably just wasn't as friendly as he could have been. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming that he'd never stepped foot in the same room as him ever again. So good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out next week. Number 7. Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the greatest romantic movies ever made in Hollywood, but oddly enough, the on-screen couple did not get along at all during the shoot. They would constantly fight on set and seemed to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved, drama watchers sipping their tea, as Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel McAdams be replaced by another actress to read her lines with him. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other on set. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a toxic relationship that lasted for 2 years. Anyone who worked on the set blames them for constant schedule setbacks and creating an overall difficult work environment. Number 6. Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI, despite having some insane visuals, and it also featured some pretty stellar performances from its cast, including Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. But Charlize and Tom played the main characters Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, pretty different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time. Meanwhile, Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every single day, while her kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book about Mad Max Fury Road, the wild and true story of the creation of the film, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everybody was there at 8 a.m. ready to shoot except for Tom Hardy. But to make a point, Charlize took her place and stayed there till Tom showed up 3 hours hours later. She didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine the C next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held her up and the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday, but the word she did say set Tom off. He rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you say to me" thing. Yeah, big tough guy, huh? He can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt very uncomfortable with Tom and had to have an assistant follow her around on set as a buffer between the two. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why there was never a Mad Max 2, which really hurts. Seriously, if you made it and you're watching this, make another one. Number 5, Vin Diesel. Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel first met on the set of the 5th Fast and Furious movie, Fast 5. They're really good with names. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie, while it was Dwayne's first. Not just in the franchise, but in the acting world in general. He had been in small budget movies, but this was a big budget movie. At first, everything seemed to be okay with these guys on set. Fast 5 made a ton of money, and they asked Dwayne to return for 6 and 7. However, something changed in 2016 when, in a now deleted post, Dwayne called one of his fellow Fast 7 co-stars a candied bum. He didn't say bum, but we can't swear on the internet, so I'm a toddler today. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors began to fly that this was more than likely referencing Vin Diesel. Rumors proven only a few weeks after the post was made. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted on Instagram thanking all of his fellow co-stars and cast members by name except for Vin Diesel. It was later confirmed by Fast and Furious co-star Michelle Rodriguez that there was a massive amount of tension on set between these guys. They were bros at first, but as time went on and the franchise evolved, so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should get more screen time, who should get more money, who was the real lead of the franchise. You know, toxic masculinity and all that. To keep both actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off movie in which he co-starred as the lead with Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs with his family. Number 4, Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his successful time on the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course, Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Whitten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith just went way too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as an antagonist. She had been in the business for years when Will suddenly popped into her life and took lead of a show. She held a tinge of jealousy towards Will as he just walked into town, got the gig, and that's it, you know? Well, hey Janet, I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you're good at your job. She was trying to convince the producers of his show to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no, because it's not the Aunt Viv show, okay? She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out of the rest of the series and was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the real Aunt Viv, okay? We all know and love her. Number 3, Alyssa Milano. So, let's talk about the show Charmed for a second. This was a solid series that was on air for almost 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters that discover they're descendants of a line of good female witches and they're destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a very fun show. However, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean that you're gonna be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling about not being paid enough to do the stuff that she was doing. Only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling and claimed that she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. Number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it and the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film Lords of the Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production, until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was just a little bit too into one scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Sly told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a minute to take a break, they tried to break each other. Sly was eating a hot dog alone in his car. Sounds pretty peaceful, right? But suddenly Richard stormed in to join join him with half of a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warnings about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. And in true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the face and threw him out of his car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. Number 1, Jared Leto. Now, Jared Leto has always been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout most of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles in iconic movies like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and he even took a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in 2016, which we don't like to talk about much. It's not a good memory. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again, and it was in the film as the Joker where we think he might have snapped. While playing this iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent the castmates used adult toys, live animals, and deceased animals as well. At one point during filming, Captain Boomerang actor Jai Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following a long shoot day. The snake wasn't venomous or anything, but I think we can all agree that's a big nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts that he sends to castmates are sent with the intent of joy and excitement, and should be received as such. But I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your body fluids and real snakes? That doesn't sound very exciting. Number 10, Tom Hardy versus Charlize Theron. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI despite having some insane visuals, and it also featured some stellar performances from its cast, including Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters ended up working together in the end, on set there was a very different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time. Meanwhile, Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every day while her kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road, writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set at 8 a.m. ready to shoot except for Mr. Hardy. But to make a point, Charlize took her place and stayed there until Tom showed up. 3 hours later, she didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine this CNX Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he's held up the crew. Yeah, she didn't say CNX Tuesday, but the word she did say set Tom off. He rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what'd you say to me?" thing, you know, like, oh, big tough guy, I can't hear anything. Overall, Charlize felt very threatened by Tom and had to have an assistant follow her around on set as a buffer between the two. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress of the project is most likely the reason that there was never a Mad Max 2. Number 9, Ryan Gosling versus Rachel McAdams. The Notebook is considered to be one of the greatest romantic movies ever made in Hollywood. Oddly enough, the on-screen couple did not get along at all during the shoot. They would constantly fight on set and seemed to have completely different ideas on how several scenes should be played out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved, you know, drama watchers who were sipping their tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel be replaced by another actress to read her lines with him. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell on set. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a toxic relationship that lasted for 2 years. Anyone who worked on the set blames them for constant schedule setbacks and creating just an overall difficult work environment. Number 8, LL Cool J versus Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx has been a huge star in the world of Hollywood over the years, working with several acclaimed directors in every genre under the sun, but like most actors, Jamie had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was in the film Any Given Sunday from 1999, alongside Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, and of course, LL Cool J. Cool J and Jamie played teammates in the football-centric flick, and not only do their characters constantly fight on screen, but behind the scenes they had an actual brawl that ended in Miami County Police being called in. During one scene, the two were scripted to fight and filmed the first 2 takes as planned. However, some offset beef made its way in front of the camera when Jamie struck Cool J for real, splitting his lip open, and an all-out beatdown took place, leaving Jamie unconscious and in the hospital. They had to stop production because they weren't sure when Jamie would actually be able to return and film his scenes. When Fox did return to the set, it was with a small crew of friends and his manager. Waiting to greet them was LL Cool J and half of Brooklyn, according to the director, who stated that the tension was only settled after the real-life football players that the characters were based on came on set to defuse the situation. Number 7. Ryan Reynolds versus Wesley Snipes. Ryan Reynolds is known for many things. He's got his toe dipped into the world of adult beverages, wireless cell phone coverage, and he's even a soccer coach. Or football for our friends in the UK. One of his most iconic roles as an actor is of course the Merc with the Mouth, Mr. Deadpool himself. However, in 2004, Ryan was a part of a different Marvel movie. As some may know, the original Marvel movie that started this whole live-action comic trend was the Blade trilogy, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular vampire hunter. By the time the third movie of the franchise rolled around, Wesley Snipes was just kinda done with working on set. He hated the way the franchise was turning out, and all of his creative suggestions were quickly shut down. His main problem was the fact that Blade Trinity was written as like a straight-up comedy movie when the previous entries were more dark, action-based movies, filled with gore and some pretty stellar fight sequences. So when Van Wilder was cast to be his co-star, he kinda gave up. He famously refused to film several scenes unless he was allowed to wear his shades on set. Apparently he was like micro-napping during takes, because he just didn't care anymore. Ryan played a big part in his difficulty enjoying the shoot. Apparently he made it his mission to make Wesley snap. He'd constantly do bids, push things too far, and just the general Ryan Reynolds chaos that we're all used to at this point. At the end of the day, Blade Trinity ended up burying the franchise and was one of the most chaotic and toxic films ever made in 2004. Boo, number 6. Vin Diesel versus The Rock. Remember everybody, family. That's it. That's my intro. Dwayne and Vin Diesel met on set of the 5th Fast and Furious movie, Fast 5. Very creative title. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie, but it was Dwayne's first, not just in the franchise, but in the acting world in general. At first, everything seemed to be okay with these guys on set. Fast 5 made a lot of money, and they asked Dwayne to return for 6 and 7. However, something changed in 2016 when in a now deleted post Dwayne called one of his fellow Cast 7 co-stars a candied bum bum. He didn't say bum bum, but I'm not allowed to say that real word on the internet, so I must speak like a toddler. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors began to fly that this was more than likely referring to Vin Diesel. Rumors proven only a week after that post was made. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted on Instagram thanking all of his fellow cast members by name, but he left Vin out of the equation. It was later confirmed by Fast and Furious co-star Michelle Rodriguez that there was a massive amount of tension on set of the film. They were bros at first, but as the time went on and the franchise evolved, so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should receive the most screen time and who was the real lead of the franchise. You know, toxic masculinity and all that. To keep both actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off in which he co-starred as the lead alongside Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs, with his family. I know it's a bad impression, but it's a fun word to say in his voice. Number 5. Bill Murray versus Lucy Liu. Does anybody else just get the most hardcore Charlie's Angels flashbacks when they see these two together? No? Fair. Sony's first foray into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success when it was released, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the titular angels. The movie was filled with action, a little bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Seriously, that guy needs help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the microphone, Mr. Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out a scene had been rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke up about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill's outburst. Apparently, Bill was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the movie, but instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character being involved, so it went on without him. When he returned to find that the change had been made while he was gone, he was furious and reportedly shouted at half of the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She didn't write the scene, she wasn't the director, so she asked if Bill was talking to her specifically, which apparently sent him into a full-blown meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and he was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actor at the time, and is very glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebrities to comment on his behavior. We'll save that for another time. Number 4. Will Smith versus Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks thanks to his successful time on the hit sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course, Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Whitten, who, as many know, was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith just went a little bit too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as the antagonist of her life. She had been in the business for years when suddenly this man popped into her life, and she held a tinge of jealousy towards Will as he just walked into town and he got a gig. Well, that's what happens when you're good at your job, Janet. She was trying to convince the producers to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no because it was not the Aunt Viv show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out for the rest of the series and be replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the Aunt Viv that everybody knows and loves. Number 3. Tom Hardy versus Shia LaBeouf. Making a return on this list is Mr. Tom Hardy, but this time it's with Shia. This was an on-set feud that was innocent from the perspective of the actors, but not the people who were making their movie. In 2012, Shia and Tom starred in a period piece crime drama called Lawless. It was a pretty solid movie featuring stellar performances from both of its leading men. In 2019, on an episode of the popular talk show Hot Ones, Shia addressed the rumors that he had knocked out his on-screen partner Tom during the shoot. According to Shia, the two were closer than people think and acted more like college buddies than enemies. Shia claims that the two would wrestle a lot on set and that it would sometimes distract people from their work. The rumor that he knocked Tom out was actually started by Tom after he fell down the stairs one night, and apparently he was getting ready for his role as Bane in Christopher Nolan's third Batman movie at the time, and Shia claims that the main reason he wanted people to think he was in a fight was, again, big tough guy. Their feud may have been innocent between themselves, but to everyone on the outside, Tom Hardy was about to pile drive Shia LaBeouf every 5 minutes. Number 2. Ray Fisher versus Joss Whedon. Ray played a major role in the 2017 DC movie Justice League as Cyborg. Not only was this the first live-action iteration of the character for film, but he was also the first black superhero in a leading role in DC. According to Fisher, he was mindful of this and he delivered the best performance that he could, and honestly, it was a great performance. There have been way worse actors involved with DC, and Cyborg was one of the best parts of the 2017 version. Now, I keep saying that because, as some may not know, the original director of the movie, Zack Snyder, was forced to drop out of the shoot midway through production due to a personal tragedy. The studio decided to bring in Avengers director Joss Whedon to finish the project, and at first he was just supposed to direct the movie, but he ended up rewriting most of the script and reshooting several of the scenes already finished by Zack. This is where the tension started. Joss did not appreciate any outside input on his script, and Ray was a very vocal performer who wanted to stick to the original vision that Zack Snyder had. A vision that we actually got to see in 2021 thanks to the Snyder cut of the film being released. It's 2 more hours, but it's way better. Ray claimed that Joss was not only dismissive towards his ideas, but that he was an absolute monster to work with. Following the release of the film, Fisher voiced his complaints to DC and Warner Brothers, who opened a brief investigation into the situation, but quickly dismissed the case, claiming that there was insufficient evidence to prove he was telling the truth. Thankfully, several of his co-stars and crew members backed up those claims that Joss was a very angry, racist, and just manipulative boss, creating an extremely toxic environment on set. The backlash from fans, combined with the hashtag Snyder Cut, allowed Warner Brothers to finish Zack's original vision for the project and release a 4-hour Snyder Cut in 2021. Not only is Cyborg's storyline much better in this version, but the project overall is considered to be one of the best DC movies ever made. And at number 1, James Franco versus Tyrese Gibson. So this feud was brought to my attention by a fellow host here at the studio, and I had never actually heard of this movie before today, but once I found out it was between James Franco and Tyrese, we had to include it on this list. These two starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of the filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice the choreography for the final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing, when you just pretend to be someone else all the time and that's it. But it's different when you're literally punching your co-star for real. Instead of the normal film choreography allowing actors to fake hit each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up. Franco ignored him and just continued to box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defended himself by saying that he was aware that he made the set difficult at times and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably wasn't as friendly as he could be. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming that he would never step foot in the same room as this man ever again. Good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11's coming soon.
Starting us off at number 10 is Mason Disick and Jeffree Star. First of all, isn't Mason Disick like 9 years old? How the hell did he end up in a feud with the biggest YouTube beauty guru in the world? I'm confused. Here's what happened. For starters, Mason Disick is Kourtney Kardashian's oldest son, in case you did not know who he is. He recently started a fire in March 2020 when he went online and called Jeffree Star spoiled AF. But Jeffree fired back at him even though he is in fact, guys, 10 years old. Jeffree responded by a tweet and said, "I had $500 in my bank account 6 years ago. Maybe he's confused with his own privilege versus mine being self-made. Hopefully his father can educate him soon." Mason's dad is actually Scott Disick, who goes by the name Lord Disick, so the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty slim. Coming next, number 9 is Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj. We didn't really know about the feud until the very awkward public exchange they had at the 2015 MTV Music Video Awards. Miley was hosting the award show, but at one point Nicki was on stage saying her part and finished by saying, "And now back to the bitch that had a lot to say about me in the press. Miley, what's good?" You could tell that Miley was completely thrown off by the comment, and the spotlight awkwardly went to Miley and just faded out from Nicki. It was super uncomfortable. Turns out that articles were saying Miley had said some rude things about Nicki in the press earlier that week. But Miley ended up saying on stage, to kind of clear her name, that news outlets tend to twist the words of other celebrities and that she actually has no issue with Nicki. Sliding into number 8 is Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. The majority of us probably thought they would be like brothers after filming together in Fast 5, but by the end of the movie series they strongly disliked each other. While they were filming the 8th movie of the franchise, Dwayne posted on social media saying he is dealing with a candy ass on set. Fans were confused at first because we didn't really expect there to be so much tension to a point where you're writing about it on social media. There were rumors going around at that time about these two fighting, so people just kind of quickly pieced that together. Dwayne later spoke about it and said he has put it behind him, and apparently their tension was so bad at some points that they actually requested stand-ins to film some of their scenes. Rolling to number 7, we have Chelsea Handler and Angelina Jolie. To be honest, I didn't even know that they had beef with each other, so that is how unexpected this one is for me personally. The tiff came after news broke of Angelina and Brad Pitt's divorce. Apparently Chelsea was not okay with their decision, and she did not hesitate to express her thoughts on it. She spoke about it and called Angelina a effing lunatic. It was later revealed that she had a personal issue with her because she once fooled around with her friend's man, referring to Brad Pitt's ex Jennifer Aniston, who is friends with Chelsea. But Chelsea later felt bad for her comment and said, "I'm upset that I was so upset with Angelina Jolie. I realize she is probably just trying to do her best too." Isn't that sweet? Yeah, you had really no say in their divorce, but okay. Up next, number 6 is Lady Gaga and Kelly Osbourne. Such a random pair of people to have an issue with each other. Like, do they even know each other well enough to have a problem? The battle between them started in 2009 when Kelly called Gaga a butterface on her show Fashion Police. Gaga responded with an open letter telling her that her show criticizes and rates people's beauty and that is wrong. The feud was ongoing for years until 2013 when Gaga tried to make a peace offering. The singer made an appearance in October on the X Factor UK, where she gave Sharon Osbourne, who was a judge, a cake to celebrate her daughter's birthday. Kelly was turning 29 and it just so happened to fall on that same day. Sharon and Gaga even took a smiling picture together with the cake, but Kelly did not accept it and wrote on Twitter, "Not to be ungrateful, but why would you send me a birthday cake via my mother in a country half the world away?" She then posted a picture of the cake to her Instagram with the hashtags "Eat my poo" and hashtag hypocrisy. But Gaga ended the feud and responded with kindness, God bless her soul, and she tweeted, "I didn't know it was your birthday until this afternoon, meant as a peace offering, happy birthday." God bless Gaga, are you kidding me? I would just take that cake home and eat it myself. Halfway Halfway through the list is Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. All the Sex and the City girls seem to be like sisters from the outside looking in. But early in the TV series there were rumors going around that these two did not get along. In 2004, Kim admitted that money had something to do with it, revealing that Sarah received a higher salary, and when they did not agree with her financial demand, she quit the show. Down the road in 2017, Daily Mail reported that the third Sex and the City movie was cancelled because of Kim, stating that Warner Brothers refused to meet her demands and had to cancel production, despite the other girls being on board for another movie, and fans obviously very excited about it. Sarah has always said that Kim was a close friend to her, but there seems to be some weird disconnect because Kim told Piers Morgan that the other girls were always just colleagues to her. That's so awkward. We've made it to number 4, and we have Howard Stern and Lena Dunham. The whole thing seemed to be one-sided after Howard completely dissed her on his radio show back in 2013. He was talking about the actress and her HBO show Girls and said, "It's a little fat girl who kinda looks like Jonah Hill and she keeps taking her clothes off and it kinda feels like I don't want to see that." The whole comment was honestly like very unnecessary, not sure where it came from, but Lena was able to laugh it off later on, and she actually called into his show to talk about it after he apologized though. He did end up apologizing for that random comment, and they were able to kind of shake it off. Taking over the third spot is Chloe Grace Moretz and Kim Kardashian. Another random feud that happened on Twitter and lasted way longer than it needed to. It started after Kim posted a nude mirror selfie on her social media pages. The selfie was obviously a little censored, but Chloe did not approve of her post and made sure everyone knew about it. Chloe commented on her post and wrote, "I truly hope you realize how important setting goals are for young women, teaching them we have so much more to offer than our bodies." Kim quickly fired back, pointing out that Chloe posed nude for her Nylon magazine cover shoot. Side note, she was actually wearing a jacket over her body, but she is nude underneath. So yeah. Kim tweeted in response saying, "Let's all welcome Chloe Moretz to Twitter since no one knows who she is. Your nylon cover is cute, boo." Kim's family even got involved after that, and Khloe Kardashian started tweeting at her too, and honestly it was just Twitter chaos. Taking over number 2 spot is Neil Patrick Harris and James Woods. Neil posted a photo of an 8-year-old boy with his family at Pride, and James tweeted a response that was incredibly inappropriate and offensive. He tweeted, "This is sweet. Wait until this poor kid grows up, realizes what you've done, and stuffs both of you dismembered into a freezer bag in the garage." I mean, who in their right mind says something like that to someone? Like, to me, the only type of person to say something like that is someone who would dismember someone and stick them in the freezer. That is crazy. Neil responded by calling him utterly ignorant and classless and said that he should be ashamed of himself. Turns out Neil was actually very close with the young boy's family, which is why he took that photo with him. In the number 1 spot is Ariana Grande and Piers Morgan. The pop star picked a bone with him back in 2018 after he criticized Ellen DeGeneres, claiming that she drools over famous men's bodies and how if he did that towards women he would be called a pig. He also went after a Little Mix and said that they use nudity to sell their records, not their talent. Ariana Grande got involved by sticking up for Ellen even though the comments had nothing to do with her. She tweeted at him saying, "Ellen is an incredible and kind human being. I use my talent and my sexuality all the time because I choose to. Women can be sexual and talented, naked and dignified. It's our choice. And we will keep fighting till people understand. I say this with all due respect, but thank you. Next." The two of them battled it out for a bit in tweets, but later admitted that they had a civil conversation and worked it all out.
At number 10, James Franco. It's no longer a surprise to anyone that James is a bad dude, but his misdeeds date back to 2005. James and Tyrese Gibson starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice the choreography for the final fight of the film.
Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-star for real. Instead of the normal film choreography allowing actors to fake hit each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defended himself by saying he was aware he made the set difficult at times and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably wasn't as friendly as he could be. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming he'd never step foot in the same room as him ever again. Good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out soon. At number 9, Bill Murray. Sony's first foray into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success when it was released, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the Angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Oh my god, that guy needs help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out a scene was rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill's outburst. Apparently, he was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the film. Instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She didn't write the scene, she wasn't the director. She asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-blown meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and he was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actress at the time, and is glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebs to comment on his behavior, but let's save that for another time. At number 8, Jennifer Aniston. In 2010, Elle asked actor Jay Moore to describe his most awkward interaction with a female celebrity. Moore responded with a blind item that involved a certain leading lady who was upset to learn that he would be playing her love interest. This mystery diva reportedly yelled, "You've got to be kidding me," right to his face. He then revealed that the behavior that followed led to Moore regularly, quote, "go to my mom's house and cry." Asked if the actress happened to be Aniston, who played his love interest in the 1997 film Picture Perfect, Moore said he will never ever answer that. Well, on his More Stories podcast, he did answer that. Moore claimed Aniston pointed right at him on the first day of rehearsal and screamed, "6 guys they screen test. 6. The one effing guy I hate, that's the guy they hire." This apparently went on the entire day as Aniston kept bad-mouthing him to their co-star. Regardless of what really happened on that Picture Perfect soundstage, Moore has apparently never forgiven Aniston. In 2016, Sports Illustrated asked what was more satisfying, kissing Jen Aniston or firing Tom Cruise's character in Jerry Maguire. Moore answered, without question, firing Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is hotter. At number 7, Jennifer Lopez. The 2020 Super Bowl saw 2 pop icons taking the stage and making the night about them and not football. Shakira and Jennifer Lopez appeared together. They absolutely slayed, and their performance has gone down in history as the most memorable and shimmy-filled night in the NFL. Unfortunately, Jennifer did not want to share the stage. Following the show, as a part of her Netflix documentary Halftime, it was revealed that she was extremely annoyed at the NFL for forcing her to share the stage when she felt strong enough on her own, literally calling it the worst idea in the world. Her main concern was the fact that herself and Shakira were meant to occupy and share the same amount of stage time as a normal solo act rather than doubling it like she assumed would happen. Solo artists are normally given between 12 and 16 minutes of stage time, with most artists using that time to do a mashup of their most popular songs. In the documentary, a clip revealed that Jennifer yelled at her music director, complaining that she had 6 effing minutes, 30 seconds per song. Not enough. The worst idea is putting multiple people on the stage. To prove her wrong, one of the most recent performances on the Super Bowl stage saw 6 major artists share the 12-minute spot. Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar were all able to make it work and work well, but Jen couldn't even fathom the 6 minutes she had to perform. At number 6, Jared Leto. Jared Leto has been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout a majority of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles roles in iconic films like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and even taking a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in the 2016 film The Suicide Squad, which landed him a spot on this list. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again. It was this film in which he may have snapped. While playing the iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent his castmates used adult toys. At one point during filming Captain Boomerang, actor Jay Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following a long shooting day. The snake wasn't venomous, but I think we can all agree that's a big ol' nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts sent to his castmates were sent with the intent of joy and excitement and were received as such. I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your bodily fluids and actual snakes doesn't sound very exciting to me. At number 5, Wesley Snipes. Ryan Reynolds is known for many things. He's got his toes dipped into the world of adult beverages, wireless cell phone coverage, and he's even a soccer coach. One of his most iconic roles as an actor is of course Mr. Deadpool himself. However, in 2008, Ryan was a part of a different Marvel movie. As some may know, the original Marvel movie that started this whole live-action comics trend was the Blade trilogy, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular vampire hunter. By the time of the third film of the franchise rolled around, Wesley Snipes was just done with working on set. He hated the way the franchise was turning out, and all of his creative suggestions were quickly shut down. His main problem, though, was the fact that Blade Trinity was written as a straight-up comedy movie. The previous entries were dark action movies filled with gore and some pretty stellar fight sequences, so when Van Wilder was cast to be his co-star, he gave up. He famously refused to film several scenes unless he was allowed to keep his shades on, and apparently he was micro-napping during scenes because he just didn't care anymore. Ryan played a big part in his difficulty enjoying the shoot, making it his mission to make Wesley snap. He would constantly do bits, push things too far, just the general Ryan Reynolds chaos that we're used to at this point. At the end of the day, Blade Trinity ended up burying the franchise and was one of the most chaotic and toxic film sets of 2004. At number 4, Kiefer Sutherland. The man known for his roles in movies like Lost Boys and Stand By Me has built a nice little place for himself in Hollywood. For a long time, he was starring in the crime drama 24. Many celebrities have made small cameos and recurring roles on the show, but in 2010, Scooby-Doo actor Freddie Prinze Jr. was cast as Agent Cole Ortiz. Despite the massive success of the show, the job left him scarred, admitting that he hated every moment of it. According to Freddie, Kiefer is the most unprofessional dude in the world. Continuing to say that he wasn't talking trash, this was something he would happily say to Kiefer's face, and apparently a ton of his co-stars agree that he makes filming a living nightmare. Following the end of his character's time on the show, he did slow down in the acting world, now limiting himself to voiceover and cameo roles. The odd thing was that while there were some backing up Freddie's story, there were a higher number of defenders for Sutherland, claiming the exact opposite experience. Some say he's the most professional man in the world, so if anyone watching this knows Kiefer, weigh in. Are you Team Kiefer good or Kiefer bad? At number 3, Alyssa Milano. Alright, so let's talk about the show Charmed for a moment, a solid series that was on the air for almost 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters who discovered they were descendants of a line of good female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean you're as close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this stuff," only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling, claiming she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. At number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it or the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film The Lords of Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was a little too into a scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Stallone told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a break, they tried to break each other. Stallone was eating a hot dog alone in a car. Sounds peaceful. But suddenly, Richard stormed in to join him with half a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warning about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. In true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the head and threw him out of the car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh So we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. And at number 1, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has a very specific face. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? Remember that movie? I did not remember that existed until I started writing this script. I will be watching that tonight. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes his co-star Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it would be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma mia, that's not okay. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, taunting her about her late partner John Cazale and his illness.